And welcome, family, back to Metaphysics on Your Mind. Trust that everyone had an enjoyable holiday season, and we're about to jump off into season 2. So welcome back. We've got a special guest with us to launch this. This is Lee, and I mentioned before that Tony and I, at one point back in the day, we were in a band. Well, Lee's band was the band that we were in. You know, he took us to school, and we learned a lot about the business, about the game. Lee, give us a little background into how you come into metaphysics and music and whatever, because I know that you cut your teeth in the church.
Oh, absolutely. You know, that's the foundation for most of us, and in the church, you're taught things, and there's a lot of dogma there that you kind of have to accept. You know, like when you're a child, you learn the alphabet. You're taught that A is A. You never question it. But A is A, and B is B, C is C, so on and so forth. But as we grow older, we start studying, ferreting out the information a little bit more for ourselves, and we find that there are pieces of the puzzle that were kind of missing before that we can finally put together and make sense of it.
Yeah. I mean, as I said before, metaphysics, religion is just metaphysics with doctrine, right? For the most part.
Yeah.
It's a pretty broad arena. So again, as I said before, this presentation isn't towards or aimed at any particular religious persuasion, but all of this is operating in the same sphere, right? The same dimension of connecting with our spiritual selves.
Yes.
So what are you going to perform for us?
Well, because it's MOYM, I felt it was appropriate to write the song Metaphysical.
Okay, I'm digging that.
And it just throws some questions out there and grooves a little bit,
That works for me. So again, it's a pleasure. I'm going to introduce you into the music of Lee. Check it out.
All right.
Welcome to the metaphysical, keep an open mind. Many stories to be told, exposing all our lives. Mysteries will unfold, leading to sublime. Remember to take your time. Just prepare for the journey. Sometimes it's hard to climb. Ascending, always looking ahead. Meditation is the ride. Would you feel like you're crazy? Yeah. Questions that arise. Could you be bold enough to accept and authorize? Welcome to the metaphysical. Keep an open mind. Keep an open Remember to take your time. Welcome to the metaphysical. Keep an open mind. Many stories to be told, exposing all our lies. Mysteries will unfold, leading to sublime. Remember to take your time.
We give you Lee. He will return. Peace.
Peace.
And again, welcome back everyone to season 2 of these presentations of Metaphysics on Your Mind. Again, I trust that everybody had a great a holiday. It's been a couple of months since we were here. So wanted to thank Lee, who really dig that, man. Nice cut. And he'll be back in upcoming installments to give us more music. I thought what we would do, we're going to change up just a little bit. We're going to shorten these and do them a little bit more frequently. So maybe around 15 minutes per installment is what we're going to try to keep them to. And then we're going to throw in some shorter ones periodically, what we call take 10, as in 10 minutes. So, roughly 10 to 15 minutes, depending upon, what the particular subject is for that particular installment. And I think we can do them a little bit more often, and you can catch more in a shorter setting. I think if we do it that way, and then we're going to try to keep them down to not having a part 4, part 5, or part 6, and all of that. We'll see if we can get them more concise, because I think what we want to do too is get be a bit more creative in how we approach what we're reading. We've been reading a lot, of course, in the Bible, Old Testament, some New Testament, and then we studied the astrology, and we talked about these different areas or disciplines and how effective they can be in helping us to kind of unpeel the onion of these mystic writings, these ancient writings, that, because again, it's not about there being any one true meaning of any of this. What it's about is, to me, is what does it do for you? Whatever your perspective or whatever your take is, it's all good. I mean, who's to say? But if in taking these ancient writings, these ancient scriptures, holy scriptures, however you want to call them, if we agree that there is truth in them and they can be utilized in one's life, then I think the question is, what perspective, what dimension, what level of understanding can you actually apply in your life? As an example, Jonah and the whale. And we're not going to go into it. This is just a brief example. If I understand that story about an actual whale swallowing somebody for 3 days, and then after 3 days, regurgitating or spitting this person back up, they're still alive. I don't know, and I'm only speaking for me, because again, everybody has a different perspective, and have to have total respect for the fact that we can all see things somewhat differently. And I think the trick is what's the common thread. So in that Jonah story, if we're talking about an actual whale, I personally, in my life, or can't recall anyone surviving being in the belly of any animal for 3 days. And I'm not saying that's not possible. We're talking about quote unquote God. But I think the point is that if I take a look at it through a more metaphorical lens, then I begin to see the story as something that actually directly applies to me. No, I haven't experienced anybody to be swallowed by a whale, much less for 3 days and then, come back. But what I have experienced is to be swallowed up in emotion, or to be swallowed up in spirit, or to be swallowed up in depression. And when you understand that story, you begin to say, oh, wait a minute. And then, it takes place on the water. So we're talking emotions. So, and we know, emotions, we know what that's all about, as we discussed in many of the prior installments. So when I take that story as an understanding of how my mind works, and how Jonah is actually all of us, he can be any of us, then for me, it's not so important whether a story actually historically happened. To me, it's more pertinent. What does the story, how does it connect to me in the here and now? Wherever I might find myself on this earth, how do these ancient stories, how do these ancient writings, whether you take them literally or whether you take them figuratively or however you want to take them, the point is what insight, what understanding, what application can you apply to yourself in the here and now? And when you look at Buddhism and you understand about Buddhahood, okay, enlightenment, the awakened one, and when we talk about Krishna, which Krishna, Christ, so many of these ancient, some would say mythologies, some would say, the word of God or whatever, they have common threads and common themes because they're universal. If the story isn't universal, then it isn't truly what I would call mystical or metaphysical, because it has to go beyond the five senses. There has to be something that happens behind the scenes that we call the sixth sense, or the intuition, or the spirit world. That, as we know, actually precedes the physical world. What is not seen precedes what is seen. What is thought precedes what becomes a thing. And you can't see a thought, can you? So I think that's how we wanted to kind of start back up, was just to, maybe for all of us, just to say, hey, whatever your thing is, whatever you're vibing, whatever you study, read, whatever your connection to, again, your place of worship or your religion or whatever. The point is, the connection has to be made where it directly reflects you. See, if it's something that was 3,000 years ago, but I don't see a common thread that runs up today on a literal level, then it doesn't mean anything to me. But when I understand that, it's talking about the mind and my consciousness and my psychology and my ego, all these, my emotional nature, my intellectual nature, how I can wrestle with myself, how we can be at war with ourselves. But if you're at war with yourself, you're going to be at war with everybody else. Remember the law of correspondence: as above, so below; as within, so without. So I'm going to read one quick verse, because I think this is kind of good to maybe kick back into it with. This is the book of John 10:10. chapter 10, verse 10. Actually, we're going to start with chapter 10, verse 8. So we're going to do 8, 9, 10. And just, you're not just listening. You're just listening to how this is put together, these 3 verses. All that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved, and shall go in and out and find pasture. The thief cometh not, but for to steal, and to kill, and destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. When I perceive, because again, we all have different perspectives, that the I, because this is the Gospels, this was the Jesus Christ quotes. When you understand that it's talking about the Christ consciousness, which we can all have, just like Buddha consciousness and Krishna consciousness. It's a consciousness. Then it's not as important to me. Again, we're all a little bit different. Whether it was a literal person or whether it was a symbolic person, the truth is the truth is the truth. Once again, thank you for checking us out, and we'll pick it up with the next installment. Again, we want to thank everyone who subscribed, everyone who's viewing these, and we really appreciate those that have come back after this layoff or hiatus or whatever you want to call it, that are kind of touching back base with us by viewing these videos. Thank you so much, and we really appreciate it. Peace.